My name is CJ Osman. I'm the Director of Operations, Safety, and Integrity at the Interstate Natural Gas Association of America, INGA. And today I'm going to talk about some important pipeline safety considerations for future energy markets. But I want to thank Pipeline Safety Trust for a great conference so far. Really appreciate the opportunity to address you all and enjoying hearing from a diverse group of stakeholders about a variety of issues. So I know I'll be back again next year if they'll have me. Briefly, what does INGA do? We're a trade association based out of Washington, D.C. We advocate regulatory and legislative positions of importance for the interstate natural gas transmission pipeline industry in North America, in the U.S. and Canada. So we primarily focus on interstate gas pipelines. What that means is pipeline safety and pipeline safety regulations, in particular, supporting regulations that enhance pipeline safety is important to us. Real quickly, where we fit in the supply chain, our operators represent the majority of the 300,000 interstate pipeline miles in the U.S. and a large percentage of the underground storage facilities as well. What's natural gas used for? We like to use this concept of a third, a third, a third. It's probably not exact, but it's rough. A third of gas is being used for power generation, a third of it's being used for heating, both residential and commercial, and a third is being used as feedstock for manufacturing industrial processes. So that's just a little intro on what we are and what we do as INGA and the interstate natural gas pipeline industry. I'm going to come back to this slide again at the end of my presentation in more detail, but it's really an important starting point, and I think those of you who've been around for the past 2 days have seen it a couple times now. But this is INGA's guiding principles of pipeline safety, and I'm just going to hit on the first one for now. Our goal is zero incidents for the natural gas pipeline system, both zero incidents affecting reliability and zero incidents affecting safety. A perfect record of pipeline safety and pipeline reliability is our goal. It's our ticket for admission. It's our license to operate. No incident that affects safety, no incident that affects reliability of the gas system is acceptable or excusable to us. And that leads me to my attempt to answer extremely briefly, what does the industry want? I'm sure we could talk for a long time about that, but in essence, we want to deliver natural gas safely, cleanly, reliably, and affordably. And I want to look at those four things through a very particular lens today, because I only have 15 or 20 minutes here. I want to look at that through the lens of future energy markets in the U.S. Understanding these markets is critical to understanding how we're going to keep our systems safe in the future. So this chart came from the National Renewable Energy Lab's 2015 report. They do an annual report every year forecasting electricity generation into the future. I want to start by saying that this is an extremely important issue, how we're going to keep our lights on going into the future. And there's a lot of passion around this issue, which is great. I'm not necessarily trying to endorse or refute this version of America's energy future, but I want to use it as a lens to talk about pipeline safety. So what you see in this chart here between 2010 and 2050 is a large uptick in installed generation capacity for solar, for wind, and also for natural gas. This is not something new, I think, to a lot of people in this room. We view natural gas as a perfect partner for increased renewable penetration. This is going back to 2011. The INGA Foundation has conducted a study to talk about the interrelationships between natural gas and renewables. And as the amount of other fuels decrease in usage, natural gas will serve an important role in not only filling base load on the electric generation system, but also swing load and peak load. As I mentioned, swing load and peak load here, these next two charts, and I know it's a little hard to see for the folks in the back, but these look at generation throughout different times of the year by different sources for electricity. You'll see on the left here, which is 2010, a lot more reliance on coal and nuclear and not much on solar and wind. In 2050, at the top of the chart there, it's the bright orange and the slightly lighter purple. You'll see a lot more usage throughout the year of solar and wind, and also a lot more usage throughout the year of natural gas. What's important to point out here is we're not just talking about more usage as a base load fuel with natural gas, but a lot more swings and a lot more peaks and a lot fewer valleys of natural gas usage throughout the year that the NREL is predicting in 2050 versus 2010. So this was all just to kind of set up a lens through which to talk a little bit more about pipeline safety. So what's going to happen if the natural gas becomes a more important source of our base electricity generation and of our peak and swing generation capability? We expect there to be more pipelines in the future, both to focus on new areas of development and simply to provide more load to new plants. And with more pipelines will obviously come the need to do more pipeline assessments to ensure the integrity of our system. But beyond that, we also expect the expansion of integrity management programs for all pipelines. And this isn't just a regulatory thing here. INGA has committed to expand integrity management programs to protect a large majority of people who live near pipelines. So both due to regulatory requirements and industry commitments, there's going to be more assessments on pipelines in the future. As I mentioned on the previous slide, there's going to be changing usage. And if there's changing usage, it may mean that there's shorter windows to do some of these pipeline assessments that we've done in the past. It may not be as easy to shut off a certain system during a certain time of year when the load is lower to do an assessment, especially if we're talking about something like a hydro test that requires you to shut down the system. And if natural gas is making up a bigger percentage of our electric generation, there's going to be a lower tolerability for shutting pipeline systems down to do any type of assessment work. So that's the challenge there. Storage also plays an important role in this. Similarly, we expect an expansion of integrity management requirements related to storage. And there is some concern that as part of expanded integrity management requirements, there might be construction and equipment requirements that could reduce deliverability of existing storage systems. And that ties in a similar way as the pipeline assessment point about with shorter windows to do assessment work, there's going to be a bigger challenge for our industry to get these important assessments done. As an example, that's important for storage. Many operators who are primarily working in the colder areas of our country might withdraw from their storage capacity 4 or 5 months out of the year right now and spend the rest of the year on balance filling back up. That may not be the case in the future if we're relying on natural gas for more of our electric generation. So, back to trying to answer the question, what should our industry do? And when we talk about the industry, it's not just operators, right? Our industry is made up of a lot of important stakeholders. There is the operators, there's the contractors we do work with, folks doing R&D, academia, our regulators, and the public. So this is something that's going to take a variety of stakeholders to address. And I'll get back to my thesis statement here that we want to deliver natural gas safely, cleanly, reliably, and affordably. I'm done now. Thank you for that. In order to address these challenges, we need to support the development of modern inline and downhole inspection tools. Technology can help us address these challenges. Not only is new technology able to give us more information than ever before about our pipeline systems, whether we're talking about downhole casing in a well or interstate natural gas pipelines. But technology can also help us reduce deliverability impacts. Some examples of this would be new EMAT-based inline inspection tools that could be used to reconfirm MAOP for pipelines without having to shut down to do a hydro test, or advanced downhole logging equipment for corrosion logging or cement logging that can avoid having to shut down a well to go into it and also put people and the public at risk by opening up a well. And there's a lot of stakeholders who are going to need to work together towards this goal. Industry money needs to chase these goals. And it's not just supporting the development of new technologies through our vendors and others, but it's also being able to prove to key stakeholders that these newer technologies are as safe or safer than some of the older technologies. So we need to put time, effort, and money into those type of studies. But regulations also need to embrace these goals. I mentioned the MAOP example. We need to make sure there's a regulatory framework in place that encourages the development of new technology and encourages the use of ILI. I also mentioned for storage previously, we need to make sure that operators have the ability to use every technological tool in their toolbox to assure the safety of wells, and that we're not overly prescriptive in construction requirements for wells that substantially reduce deliverability. But I was warned, and it was a good warning, to make sure I didn't just come up here and talk about pigging and digging, because that's not the only takeaway message here. But safety and reliability are going to be more important than ever before if natural gas is a bigger percentage of our generation capability. So here's the part that takes me away from pigging and digging, and it's a good tie-in to what Sean just finished talking about. Sean talked about the introduction of safety management systems into our industry, and that safety management systems are an absolutely critical part of improving our safety performance and getting to zero. Our members have been working to define what existing systems they can build upon to conform with the goals laid out in API 1173 and where they need to make changes. INGA, along with many other trade associations, as Sean mentioned, have been holding workshops to identify gaps within the industry as a whole and with individual operators. And it's all based in a foundation of safety culture. INGA recently completed our second safety culture survey. The first one was done in 2013. We're trying to do them every 3 years. And it identified some key gaps both in the industry as far as our culture and for specific operators. Overall, we need to be relentless in pursuing our safety goals and our reliability goals. Sean talked a lot about lessons learned and making sure we don't repeat mistakes or problems from the past. But we also need to anticipate the future. And that was kind of the lens that I wanted to look at things through today, talking about the future of America's energy markets. Lastly, we need to engage a variety of stakeholders. This isn't just an industry regulator thing. We need to make sure the public is involved, the researchers are involved, our contractors are involved, because it's going to take everybody to accomplish our aggressive safety and reliability goals going into the future. So again, that emphasizes the importance of conferences like this, of all the work that the Pipeline Safety Trust does. So I'd just like to conclude by thanking you all for hearing me out and thanking Pipeline Safety Trust for putting on such a great conference. So thank you.